Grand evening, everyone. It is Monday, August 3rd, 2026. It is 2300 hours and 23 minutes Central Daylight Time. This is initially a live stream recording that is posted to my YouTube channel as well as right here on X. We had a lot of technical difficulties a few moments ago when it came to setting up the camera on here. So I have a camera set up. It was not an easy thing to get this right, though it is working at this time. So it's a nice new improvement. So NATO is being tested recently, especially when it comes to Poland. And censorship seems to be possibly increasing. That is expected. We'll start right here when it comes to Poland. As you can see right here on X, my X page. So a Russian missile has left a massive crater in Poland as Russia tests Poland and NATO's response. And that's the correct way of saying it. The insider paper really tried covering that up and said, mysterious projectile leaves massive crater in Poland amid a Russian attack on Ukraine. It wasn't just over the border into Poland, it went far into Poland. It's clearly the Russians testing NATO and Poland. Then we have this here. So the water here on the home front has been affected a lot recently. I think it's several states have had cyber attacks on the water systems. It says here, U.S. intelligence agencies assess Iran was likely behind coordinated cyber attacks targeting more than 30 Minnesota water systems. So that was Minnesota reported, though it was more than just Minnesota. I've heard now it's been several states, as you can see actually up there right from Douglas McGregor. Hackers have now targeted water systems in several states. The U.S. is also planning to cut all electricity across the city of Tehran, including civilians. Makes sense. Cutting off all the electricity in the Iranian capital, Tehran, also includes the civilians. So the U.S. wants to black out Tehran, the capital of Iran. It's not Iran, it's Iran. Then we have the U.S. deploying an additional 10 aerial refuel tankers to Israel's Ben Gurion Airport. So Ben Gurion Airport has been jam-packed recently. and it's 10 more is a very large amount more of aerial refuel planes there. That is an international airport in Israel, I think the largest one. So that is quite something as well. That is setting up for bombings in the further bombings throughout the Middle East, throughout that Middle Eastern front. Then we have Iran. They denied news of any deal with the U.S. More evidence that President Trump is talking to himself again. Yeah, the jokes write themselves. It's pretty funny when President Trump comes out and he says, "There's gonna be a deal. We're about to have a deal with Iran." Then Iran comes right out and says the truth of the matter, which there's no deal about to happen. I think that's still the case. It's very unlikely for a deal to happen with Iran. What is more likely is what we will get to shortly here, which is President Trump saying that Iran has two options: make a deal or surrender, total surrender for Iran. As it says right there, that's exactly what I was saying. That's what President Trump said. President Trump said Iran has only two choices: a deal or total surrender. And then on top of that, another sign of no deal being in sight is that the U.S. military has asked troops for creative and unconventional ideas to punish Iran. So that is a very openly aggressive thing to do. That is not a thing for de-escalation. That is not a thing for reducing intensity in this war. That is clearly a sign that the U.S. military wants to really annihilate Iran into total surrender in creative and unconventional ways. A nuclear weapon is more of an unconventional weapon. Creative ways, there's a lot of different creative ways that they could do. So it's very much so escalating. It is not de-escalating. That is very good evidence that there is no deal in sight in reality. Then we have further news on censorship. We have a possibility for further censorship, as it says right here. So the Apple Store, the App Store on iOS has removed Telegram from the App Store. Telegram is a global as it says there, instant messaging, very secure messenger that I think the Russians may have something to do with, if I remember correctly. Though Telegram is no longer in the App Store very suddenly, very little explanation for it so far. That was within the last 2 or 3 hours that happened. And then Iran has struck another cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz near Iran. Near Oman, not near Iran, near Oman. So I don't think that's an oil tanker, it says a cargo ship there. So no de-escalation going on in the Middle East. It's clearly further intensifying and getting more into the rhythm, back into the rhythm that it was at. The pace, the rhythm of that when it comes to the war, World War III. Not the Iran War, World War III. We have a report here from the Insider paper and other sources that the Cuban national electric grid has collapsed following a blackout on Sunday. So just yesterday, the entire power grid in Cuba has collapsed. We cannot forget the U.S. military intends to go in there soon as well. That's what the U.S. has openly said. They want to go after Fidel Castro's brother, who's over 90 years old there. That hasn't been talked about in quite a few days, weeks maybe even at this point. So that will happen soon. A total invasion of Cuba is somewhat imminent at this time. So we have a lot going on. It is no small matter when it comes to the Russians firing a missile into Poland, as we first talked about here tonight. That is not to be taken lightly. That is one of the most serious escalations in this entire war, especially when it comes to Russia. So we need to all keep on preparing for more escalation, more intensification in this war. Please keep on preparing. Do not get complacent. I always recommend physical assets, things you can hold, not things on a screen like cryptocurrencies, and try not to even keep money in a bank account, not more than what is needed in there. If you have an excess in a bank account, try to keep it as cash. Physical cash will last for a short time, even after the total collapse. SHTF, Day X, as the Canadian prepper sometimes calls it. So, the price of oil is still rising. It will continue to do so. I expect the price of oil to easily reach $150 per barrel within the next 30 days. It's very likely. I don't like putting timelines on things like that. Though soon the price of oil will be $150 a barrel, and it will go up more so from there. It will go easily to $200 a barrel, being generous with this estimate within a year's time. I think that will happen within the next 6 months. The price of oil will be $200 a barrel, bringing up the other prices of things. Oil is tied to many things, some people say everything, such as food and other groceries and assets like that. Oil is tied to many things. Now, the price of gold is $4,063 an ounce, as you can see here. Oh, and the price of silver is going straight up. It's absolutely climbing. Same thing with gold. So gold and silver are both absolutely climbing. Energetically, there is a whole lot going on. There is a energetic overload. I think that's how another streamer put it, Stefan Burns. He's a geophysicist and geologist. He's a very smart man, put simply, when it comes to energy and things that go on in this entire solar system, even astronomically, when it comes to space and the zodiac, and how energies, especially planetary energies, have an effect on all of us here, and how the sun has an effect on all of us here. Everything is frequency and vibration. We also had I think it was at least a G2 geomagnetic storm within the last 24 hours. That causes auroras to be seen as far south as New York. Parts of it anyway. It's difficult to see them with our own eyes, though if you use certain cameras and effects, that can be an even better way to see auroras in those regions, especially further north. That's simply how that goes. The further north on the latitude, the further north you are, closer to the North Pole, the easier it is to see auroras, though the auroras are increased from this recent geomagnetic storm. Geomagnetic storms can easily cause blackouts, issues with HF radios. A large enough geomagnetic storm can take out the entire global power grid, uh, much like the Carrington event, uh, well over 100 years ago in the 1800s. Carrington event was one of the largest events that happened here due to solar activity. It destroyed many phone lines and power lines, all things they had like that, even on the more older and potentially some of it more resilient infrastructure. So a lot of things these days especially rely on electricity and power grids. So there's always a very big concern when it comes to geomagnetic storms and coronal mass ejections that come before that from the sun. What other news? There was a lot of antenna tuning recently on the primary nuclear war frequencies. And then there were EAMs, emergency action messages. And the EAMs have increased a lot more today. When they do antenna tuning and then an increase of EAMs, it has been a sign that a massive attack on Iran follows after that, or a massive attack somewhere else. In this case, I think it is more Iran that will be targeted. I also saw recently that the Chinese may get involved more when it comes to Iran and try to bring more peace to that region. Once again, the Chinese heavily rely on Iranian oil and other trade that they get from Iran. We will see how the Chinese intend to do that. It's likely going to be in more of a militaristic way than a diplomatic way. Though we'll see exactly what the Chinese do when it comes to the Middle Eastern front. The Chinese also still very much intend to invade Taiwan. They've done a lot of provocations recently over there in the East China Sea and right off of Japan. China is not very peaceful at this time. They are very much preparing for war, further war, preparing to get further involved in this war, World War III. So please keep on preparing. The Russians will soon invade Poland. By recent news we also talked about, there has been intelligence saying that Russia intends to attack Poland more and test NATO's response and capabilities, like the missile interceptions and things like of that nature. Russia will also soon invade the Baltic states. Many fronts will further intensify. This war overall is further intensifying. We also have a massive fire that happened recently in Spokane, Washington. Hundreds of homes have caught fire there, over 600 homes more specifically. Thousands of acres are burning in and around Spokane, Washington. There's been a lot of firefighting going on there, though they need a lot more help, and a lot of the people there need a significant amount more help. Hopefully we have more National Guard deployed there. We should have nearby cities and states going over there and supporting that area. That is one of the largest fires in modern history near a major city. I'm quite sure Spokane is a major city. About 250,000 people live in Spokane, Washington, Washington State. So we've had a lot of fires spreading all throughout this country and the world. We cannot forget about Spain. Spain had massive fires too recently. There's lots of fires going on. There's lots of flooding going on. There was even an earthquake in Egypt, over a 5.0 magnitude earthquake. I think it was 5.2 magnitude earthquake. So a lot of cataclysmic events are happening now. A lot of change and a lot of things are shifting. There is very much so an energy overload, as Stefan Burns put it. The energy is very much increasing and rising, and everything is shifting. All of the right things need to be done for such shifts, especially the one we are going into now, at how things are shifting now. Everyone needs to also prepare and work with that shift and change and improve and grow as these shifts happen. And as we fast approach the 5D shift. Learn your area that you live in as for further recommendation. And also when it comes to the assets and the money and things like that, that is not financial advice. Those are just recommendations, not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Lots of that fire in Spokane, it is one of the largest bit of news recently. Let's see here. It's kind of hard to find this way. This is a very good map and way to put it. Even on this broad perspective, you can see fires everywhere all throughout the country, especially on the West Coast. The West Coast looks literally all on fire from this perspective. Moving in, my processors are having an interesting time doing all of this. But must be around here. It is pretty hard to find it this way. There's so many fires that it makes it hard to figure out which one is the Spokane one. Hang on, that was, let's see, 67,238 acres, the bench fire. That one is approaching that city there, Madras. That tremendous fire is approaching that city from the northwest. That could expand downwards and annihilate that city. And then there's another fire to the west of that. That city's getting surrounded by fire. Let's see. Alright, here's Spokane, and here's the fires nearby. This is the city of Spokane, Washington. Right here. So the Old Trails fire is over 3,600 acres large. And that is what's really spreading into Spokane. The northwest side of Spokane is in the fire. There's power outages all in this area. It took out a lot of power on the northwestern side of Spokane. It's a big city on the map here. The northwestern side of it is on fire at this time. There's go now evacuations in these red zones. There's fire in these zones. I think these are the go nows, and the deep red must be the fire itself. Let's see, we're looking at the legend here for the map. Yeah, those are fire perimeters. There's a lot of things on this map. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with these with this watch duty, though I've seen it used recently. This is one of the very best maps to see fires. I think all of this, yeah, it's all burning. So lots of, this is a very large fire. It's expanding eastward into the city more, further into that city, into the city of Spokane. And then we have another large, an even larger fire to the northwest of that. The Autumn Lane fire is over 5,602 acres large. There's a mountain, Lookout Mountain. A lot of this is on fire. So this is all active. It was updated about 3 hours ago. This is even larger than what it says here now. The Old Trails fire is likely 4,000 acres large now, and it is spreading and expanding all throughout Spokane. Again, over 600 homes burned. There's lots of power outages in the area. It's another thing to prepare for, fires. If you live in an area where there's a lot of wildfires, or the risk of them, a high risk, you gotta prepare for wildfires as well. These become absolutely massive. It's very hard to stop a fire that's thousands of acres large. There's not much stopping it. It would take a lot of resources to really put out that fire, a lot. It would take most of the area's resources, that entire western area's resources, to put out a fire that large, and even that might not be possible. It's about trying to stop its spread, to make stops, fire breaks. I think that's what they're called. Trying to break its spread. It really got well into this city. It's a lot on fire. So this has gone on for almost 40 minutes now, so I will be back soon with further news, personal analysis, recommendations. I will be continuing to watch that fire. I recommend everyone to pray for those people there, especially in and around Spokane, in and around war zones, and for the innocent, and just people overall in war zones and near fires and great flooding that is all happening right now. It is not the end of everything, it is the end of the world as we know it now, not the end of everything. Everything is shifting. Everything is changing. Everything is changing now and shifting. Everything is shifting higher, thankfully. The frequency is going off the charts. It's a very good thing to have very high vibrational frequencies. Once again, we also need to prepare, learn, and grow and adapt to all of this change. Adapt, improvise, and overcome. That's another one I really love, that saying. So keep on preparing physically, mentally, and spiritually. Do not get complacent. Like I said before, when it comes to all of this change and the shifts, I really recommend learning, growing, and adapting to change. Change is quite unpredictable. Change is something that cannot be controlled. Change is not a bad thing. Change is simply change, what it is. Change goes both ways. Change is very uncomfortable at times, though it is a necessary thing for learning, growth, lessons. Change is a very necessary thing. So once again, I will be back soon, likely Wednesday evening around 8. That's 2000 hours. In the evening, Central Daylight Time, 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And thank you all for watching, especially this far into it. It's been about 40 minutes. I try to keep it under 30, though there was a whole lot to talk about here tonight. And there will be a whole lot more coming up soon. Maybe not as much at once, though there will be a lot more news and things that happen soon. Please like, comment, and subscribe to this initially live stream recording that will be posted to my YouTube channel. Please like and comment right here on X. It will also be posted to right here on X. And maybe even follow the dedicated Facebook page. All of these links are in the description for this video. As always, and I'll say it one last time, keep on preparing physically, mentally, and spiritually. And as I always say at the end of these streams, love, light, and blessings to you all.